Hello friends! Thank you for visiting the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and share the video with your family and friends. Your support matters. Tell me where you're from in the comments. Let's start. Celeste and I had been married for 7 years. She possessed the kind of presence that could cut through gloom like sunlight through clouds. Someone I once believed I'd spend my life with. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Then there was Julian, my best friend since our university days, more like a brother than just a friend. I confided in him completely, my ambitions, my worries, my successes. The three of us had formed what I thought was an unshakable bond. Celeste and Julian had always gotten along easily, but I never saw any reason to be suspicious. In fact, their friendship made things easier. No need to juggle different social spheres. I even laughed about it once. Walking into the kitchen to find them laughing together, I joked, "Julian, you might as well move in. You're here more than I am." He shot back with a smirk. "Someone's got to keep an eye on her while you're off running. The Empire." Celeste giggled. I chuckled too, oblivious to the treachery quietly growing right under my nose. Everything began to fall apart on an otherwise ordinary Thursday. I'd wrapped up a big project at work earlier than expected and decided to come home early with dinner. I thought I'd surprise her. But as I stepped through the door, something felt off. I could hear her voice coming from the living room, low, urgent. "No, he doesn't suspect anything," she said quickly. "It's all unfolding exactly like we planned. I'll call you soon. Love you." I froze. She hadn't heard me enter. For a heartbeat, I considered walking right back out. But a sick, hollow feeling took hold of me, and I forced myself to confront her. "Who were you talking to?" I asked as I walked into the room. Celeste jolted, clutching her phone. "Damon, you scared me," she stuttered. "Just someone from yoga." I raised an eyebrow. "You tell your yoga friends love you now?" She laughed nervously, the sound thin and unconvincing. "You know how we joke around. Don't read too much into it." I didn't buy it, not really. But I let it go. For the moment. That night, while she slept beside me as though nothing was wrong, I stared at the ceiling, her words repeating over and over. "He doesn't suspect anything, just like we planned." What plan? Who was she planning it with? By morning, the questions were too loud to ignore. Her phone was locked, but I knew her well. After 7 years together, her passcode was still our wedding date. While she was in the shower, I opened her messages. My heart thundered in my chest. That's when I saw them. Texts from Julian. "Can't wait to see you tonight," he'd written. "Me neither," she replied. "Just a little longer and we're free of him." Free of me? My head spun. But this wasn't just infidelity. They were conspiring. Plotting something deeper, more deliberate. It wasn't just an affair. Celeste had been siphoning funds from my business, disguising them as bogus expenses. Meanwhile, Julian had been sabotaging deals, feeding lies to potential partners. Together, they were tearing down everything I'd built from the inside out. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I needed solid, undeniable proof. I wasn't interested in a confrontation. I wanted destruction. Carefully, I began my own investigation. First, I hired a private detective. I wanted every detail, every meeting, every kiss, every lie. The PI got it all. Photos of late-night rendezvous, casual hand-holding, secret dinners. They acted like they had nothing to hide. Next, I wired the house. Tiny audio devices tucked away in plants, beneath furniture, even in the light fixtures. Listening to their private conversations felt like poison in my ears, but it hardened my resolve. At work, I re-examined Celeste's financial records. What once looked like ordinary transactions now screamed fraud, fabricated invoices, payments to shell vendors. Clear manipulation, hiding in plain sight. Quietly, I brought in the company's legal counsel and launched a secret internal audit. At the same time, I began dismantling Julian's lies. Instead of finding new business opportunities, He had been funneling confidential data to rivals, orchestrating fake meetings just to keep me distracted. They weren't just betraying my trust. They were trying to annihilate everything I had created. Then came the breakthrough. Celeste claimed she had a late night at work. Julian mentioned a dinner meeting. I didn't believe either of them. I told the investigator to follow them. Later that evening, I got the message. They're at the Paramount Hotel. I've got everything you need. Let's meet tomorrow. The next day, he handed me an envelope, thick and heavy. His face gave nothing away. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were photos that erased any final shred of doubt. Celeste and Julian, together in the hotel lobby, smiling, standing close. His hand brushed hers, his mouth at her ear. They looked like a couple without a care in the world. The final image showed them stepping into a hotel room, together, alone. That was it, the final blow. But I wasn't done. I wanted them exposed where it would hurt most, in the space that was mine. A few nights later, I told Celeste I had to work late and parked down the street instead. I sat in the dark, waiting. Eventually, Julian's car rolled into the driveway. I stepped out, silent as a shadow, and crept to the side of the house. Through the window, I saw them on the couch. Celeste leaned into him, curled around him like he was the center of her world. Affection bloomed on her face, warmth I hadn't seen in months. They looked like strangers. Strangers in my house, playing out a life I never agreed to. Julian reclined in the chair, one arm draped lazily over the backrest as if he commanded the entire room. "The money's in the offshore account," Celeste said, a charged excitement barely veiled beneath her composed tone. A slow grin spread across Julian's face. "Perfect. By the time he figures it out, we'll be long gone." "You're positive this won't backfire?" she asked, a flicker of uncertainty slipping into her usually unshakable confidence. Julian leaned forward and gently took her hands. "Celeste, we've covered every angle. Months of planning. He won't see it coming." Their laughter rang out, disturbingly natural. My stomach turned, fists clenching so tightly that my nails pierced skin. Every instinct begged me to storm through the door and expose them, to end it all right then. But I stayed put. The time wasn't right. Hidden in the shadows, I watched as the betrayal deepened. Julian reached out, grazing her cheek with the back of his hand. "I'm tired of hiding," he murmured. She responded with a soft smile, resting her forehead against his. "It won't be much longer," she whispered. Then they kissed. It hit me like a gut punch. Their kiss was intimate, certain, like I'd never existed at all. Everything Celeste and I had shared was erased in that one moment. The kiss deepened, turning urgent, their bodies drawn together as if consumed by one another. Celeste giggled and pulled away. "Not here," she whispered, taking his hand. "Come on, let's go to the bedroom." Julian didn't hesitate. He followed her eagerly, straight down the hallway to what used to be our room. I moved quickly, circling to a window that offered a clear view inside. My hands shook as I readied the small camera I'd brought. I positioned it carefully, the blinds open just enough. The disgust rising in me was suffocating, but I kept the lens steady. Inside, they had no idea I was watching. As clothes fell to the floor, what was once sacred between Celeste and me was desecrated before my eyes. I clenched my jaw, fury simmering just beneath the surface. Eventually they lay there entwined, exchanging soft whispers and laughter, like they were untouchable. A soft chime from my phone confirmed the footage had been uploaded to a secure server. I now had hard evidence, not only of their affair, but of the full scope of their betrayal. This wasn't closure, it was ammunition. This was just the first step in a reckoning they'd never anticipate. 7 days later, I hosted a party at the house. On the surface, a celebration of a major career victory. After weeks of rebuilding from the chaos they'd left behind, I had finally secured a critical contract, one that turned everything around for my company. It provided the perfect excuse. Friends, family, colleagues, They were all invited. Celeste was overjoyed to play hostess again. She thrived in the spotlight, basking in admiration. The house buzzed with laughter and music, glasses clinking and conversations flowing. Celeste floated through it all, graceful and magnetic, the very image of charm. Julian showed up late, of course, wearing that same smug grin. He clapped me on the shoulder with fake warmth. "Did I miss the fireworks?" he said, all ease and arrogance. "Right on cue," I replied smoothly, hiding the venom behind my words. "Wouldn't be the same without you." As the evening unfolded, an invisible tension hummed beneath the festivities. I watched Celeste glow in every conversation, while Julian stayed within arm's reach, always close. His presence grated on me with every passing second. The fury I'd kept locked away began to stir. My patience thinned. I scanned the room. People I cared about. People who had no idea they were dancing inside a lie. I nodded subtly to the DJ. The music faded. Conversations died mid-sentence. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice calm but laced with a cold edge. "Tonight we celebrate achievement and endurance. I appreciate the support you've shown me. But there's something else I need to share." Celeste's expression faltered. "What are you doing?" she asked with forced amusement, her voice straining. I turned my gaze to Julian, who leaned casually against the bar, drink in hand, still trying to play it cool. He flicked his eyes toward Celeste, and in that glance, I saw everything. I continued, "Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who cut the deepest." I motioned behind me. A screen lit up. At first, confusion rippled through the crowd, then gasps. Footage played, Celeste and Julian entering a hotel together, slipping into a room. Then came the scenes from our house, their whispered schemes, their kiss, their betrayal immortalized in crystal-clear video. Silence swept over the party like a tidal wave. The air turned electric, heavy with shock. And in that moment, the weight I'd been carrying for too long was no longer mine alone. The truth was out, undeniable, brutal, and finally, no longer hidden. Celeste's skin drained of all color as she stumbled back, one hand flying to her lips in horror. Julian stood rigid, paralyzed, until the glass in his fingers slipped and shattered against the floor. "You," Celeste began, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't let her finish. "Spare me the lies," I snapped. "I've known for some time now about the affair, the betrayal, the plan to gut everything I've built and vanish without a trace. But it ends here. Tonight." A stunned silence took over the room. Only the hum of the projector and the cautious clinking of glasses being quietly set down broke the stillness. Julian's face darkened, anger rising as he stepped forward. "You've lost it," he bellowed, voice cracking under the strain. "This is a setup." "You really thought I was clueless?" I said, voice like steel. "I've seen the messages, heard the conversations. You were going to take my business, my life, my wife, and walk away without consequences?" The fury I'd been holding back finally surged to the surface. I lunged. Grabbing his shirt, I yanked him toward me. Off balance, he flailed, trying to pull away. Then the fight exploded, my fists slamming into his chest. He fought back, wild and uncoordinated, but I didn't care, couldn't care. Everything I'd buried deep erupted with violent force. "Stop it! Please stop!" Celeste's screams barely cut through the haze. All I could focus on was the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears and the sheer force of rage pushing us into chaos. Then the door flew open. 2 police officers charged in, their hands hovering over their holsters. "What's going on here?" one demanded. I stood frozen, still gripping Julian's torn shirt, chest heaving. The neighborhood was quiet, too quiet, and a disturbance like this was impossible to ignore. Before I could respond, Celeste shrieked, "He's gone mad! He attacked Julian! He's destroying everything!" Julian, breathless and disheveled, tried to take the lead. "He ambushed me! He's dangerous!" The officers moved fast, pulling us apart and taking control of the chaos. "You're both under arrest for assault," one of them said flatly. "Save it for the station." Celeste's protests went unanswered as the cold steel of handcuffs clamped down on my wrists and Julian's. Around us, stunned faces watched in silence. Just minutes earlier, this had been a celebration. Now, it was a scene of devastation. The air felt thick with disbelief. What began as a party had mutated into something monstrous, a display of betrayal and retribution played out in full view. As I was led outside, I looked back once. Celeste was crying, her cheeks streaked with tears. But I felt nothing, not remorse, not sorrow. She had made her choices. Now she would face the fallout. At the police station, things unraveled quickly. While I was booked on assault charges, the truth couldn't stay hidden. Security footage, voice recordings, financial statements, all of it painted a clear picture of the scheme they'd plotted. Soon, Celeste and Julian faced formal charges: conspiracy, fraud, and embezzlement. The scandal erupted almost overnight. The affair hit the media like wildfire. Celeste's polished image disintegrated in the public eye. Reporters devoured every filthy detail. Julian's career didn't stand a chance. His name became toxic, synonymous with deceit and disgrace. And me? I walked away clean. My company remained mine, untouched, my integrity intact. The divorce finalized without a fight, and I retained control of everything they tried to steal. Their world crumbled. The evidence was overwhelming. Friends turned their backs. Their reputations burned to ash. And the company they targeted? It pressed charges, hard. A full investigation confirmed everything. They were found guilty, sentenced. They served time. When they were finally released, they clung to each other, desperate to salvage something from the wreckage. But it was too late. What had brought them together, lies, greed, betrayal, had already poisoned whatever bond they had. Day after day, their connection frayed. The weight of what they had destroyed slowly crushed them, not just professionally, but personally. Eventually, even that fell apart. The cracks split wide open. The final collapse was inevitable. That night wasn't the end. It was only the ignition point. The real reckoning, the moment everyone saw them for who they were, left a scar that would never fully heal. They tried to take everything from me. What they stole wasn't money. It wasn't even my company. It was my trust. But in the end, justice was done, and they paid every last cent of the price. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.